What's good, everybody out there? If you are new to the channel, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Let's talk about it. This episode is brought to you by Cocoa Breeze Body Butter, available in lemongrass, tropical vibes, jasmine, and king scent. Also available in a special eczema recipe that includes neem oil and tea tree oil. Made with all natural ingredients, 100% homemade. Now, ladies, get you some. Fellas, get you some for yourself. I got my special king scent, that's my signature fragrance. Or get some for your lady, just in case she wants you to
rub it on in there. You want me to rub it?
What's good, my people? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Okay? So as our lockdown continues, and needs to be a title of a soap opera. As the lockdown continues, right? So as the lockdown continues, more and more information began to surface. And, you know, I'm the type of person, I intake all of the information. And then I see what information coincides with what I already know. And what I already know, you know, you don't know anything until you've experienced it. Okay? Experienced it or studied it, and then studied it and seen it. So when I say the things that I already know, I mean things that I've already studied, and now I've either lived it or I'm seeing it. And this whole situation fits into that. So I take all the information in, all of it. You know what I'm saying? And I try to objectively look at it so I can, because it's imperative for me and my family that I know what I'm looking at. And I'm sure of what I'm looking at. I can't afford, as a person who's a head of a family, to allow someone to create a narrative for me. So I take the information that I get, and then I see if it matches up with the information that I know. And then I look at the sources of the information. And I ask myself, are the sources credible? There's been a lot of things coming out from a lot of different people, you know, and I noticed that a lot of people are quick to shoot down, you know, what someone says because they feel like they're not credible. They come up with their own criteria for their credibility. And a lot of the status and the criteria comes along with, you know, someone's notoriety, you know. And the thing about that is, for me, right, and I go back and forth with people on this stuff all the time. You know, a lot of times it's better to have no credit than bad credit. It's better to have no credit than bad credit. So it's better to me sometimes that I'm listening to someone who I don't really know. I mean, I can research you and see what you're talking about. But it's much worse than, to me, someone who I know that most of the things that you've said have been false. So that rules you out completely. But I do take all of it in. I take all of it in. And, you know, at the end of the day, these are the things that I know. You know, and, you know, number one, you have to understand what the end goal is. You have to understand what the agenda is. And a lot of people don't take the time to know what the agenda is because they've been programmed through propaganda. They've been programmed to believe that the tinfoil hat guy is a Looney Tune. They've been programmed with different words and phrases like conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorist. You know, they've been programmed to believe that these things are fictional. And the way this programming happened is very simple. They put the real stuff inside the movies, and they put what they want you to believe inside the news and stuff. And by doing that, you start to believe when things start happening that are just like situations that you see in a movie, you automatically think it's not true because it has to be made up because this is something that was made in Hollywood. Well, Hollywood is a propaganda machine. That's what it's always been. You know, around the time of the World War, what was it, World War II? It was the propaganda machine. You know what I'm saying? They seen how well the propaganda of Birth of a Nation worked, and they built Hollywood off of that. You know what I mean? So Hollywood is the propaganda machine. Hollywood is the propaganda machine. And so through that, they pretty much condition people to say, okay, you know, you're crazy if you say that there's some sort of conspiracy going on, or there's some sort of secret agenda that's not being shown in public. You're crazy if you're saying those things. And conditioned to accept the fact that, you know, the government has or the people in control, the ones who are in control, the ones who are creating, the ones who are expressing and creating the narrative and are also coming up with the solution for the narrative. They have our best interests at heart. And even if you look at now, you know, what's going on with this whole thing, people are not looking for Donald Trump for solutions. People are expecting Donald Trump to have some solutions. But most people are not looking to Donald Trump for solutions because a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people don't believe Donald Trump is even mentally capable of coming up with the solution. Who people are looking to are people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates. Those are the ones that are in the forefront, leading the charge as far as coming up with a solution. Who's at the top of the vaccine conversation? Bill Gates. What do we know about Bill Gates? You know, president of Microsoft, all this other stuff, tech genius, all this other stuff, right? Stepped down from Microsoft in order to concentrate fully on philanthropy. You know, who's the biggest contributor, funder of the World Health Organization? Bill Gates. What do we also know about Bill Gates? Bill Gates feels like overpopulation is a problem. Bill Gates feels like the vaccine is the solution. He said openly, you know, about the vaccine and it reducing numbers in the population.
We want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
He feels like, you know, nanotechnology and all that. He feels like everyone needs to be registered, right? Which falls right into the chip being inserted in your skin. Inserted through what? A syringe, a needle. The same delivery system as what? The vaccine. And this is a big push to the point where, you know, he's saying stuff like this.
You know, each country, you know, has to get the entire populace, even some who initially resisted, maybe for very good reasons, because the economic effect on them is strong.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, these are the things that we know about Bill Gates. Now, when we start talking about, you know, different things like vaccines, registering, and 5G and all that kind of stuff. And that's a whole nother category. We can start talking about Elon Musk and his push towards AI and how, a lot of these, so-called super smart people feel like the answer to the problems on our planet is the reduction of human life. And in a lot of ways replace with artificial organisms that can continue to mine the resources of this planet so that it's funneled into the ruling elite, the 1%. Okay, I mean, and this information is well known. What happened is now they have full faith in the propaganda machine and how well it worked, and the evidence to that is exactly what's going on right now. The things that are going on right now, I remember 20 years ago, people used to be like, yo, this happened and this happened. We're going to revolt. We're going to do this. Everyone quietly complied. And a lot of the same people that were saying that kind of stuff are now actually telling other people, please comply. You feel me? So, we look to people like Elon Musk, people like Bill Gates to come up with the solution. And it's going to get to a point where people are going to be so desperate for the solution that they just, people already now like almost deify Bill Gates and Elon Musk and dudes like that. Steve Jobs when he was alive, stuff like that, right? Now, it's two things that I want you to pay attention to. Now, I just talked about Hollywood and what it is. It's a propaganda machine. And that's why, I used to be up in arms about certain things, certain images that are being pushed to the kids, because that's literally the purpose. It's not to entertain and fill your empty hours with some sort of entertainment or something. It's not for your benefit. It's for the system of control. And that's why political agendas and different things like that have always been a part of Hollywood movies, silent movies, cartoons, all that kind of stuff. Right? Anti-whoever we pissed off at rhetoric has been prevalent in all sorts of media coming from the motion picture industry or the moving picture industry, whatever you want to call it, right? So you look at current Hollywood. Look at the current trends of Hollywood. I started following the zombie trend for a long time. And the reason why is because at one point I just started thinking why is everything about zombies? I'm talking about video games, I'm talking about phone games, I'm talking about movies, and I'm the type of person, I pay attention to everything and I look for the patterns. That's just how my brain works. It's always been like that. So, I just started watching all these different shows, all these different movies. I'm just intaking it. But for people who know me know, I'm a big entertainment buff, but I'm not a movie and show and stuff like that buff to be entertained. That's the tea trees. That's the tea tree leaves. Those are the whatever. The writing on the wall, the hieroglyphics, whatever. That's the secret messages that you really got to pay attention to. What Hollywood is pumping out and what's popular in mainstream media, right? So you got zombie movies, zombie this, zombie that, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, zombie. What's the scary thing about zombies? It's not the zombies. The zombies are not the scary thing about zombie movies. It's not the zombies. It is the virus. If you couldn't catch the virus from a zombie bite, no one would care. No, I ain't gonna say no one would care, but zombie movies and zombie shows and stuff like that wouldn't be as appealing because the threat level would be a lot less. What makes them dangerous, stuff like that, is the fact that they bite you, they scratch you, something like that, you're gonna catch the virus and then you're gonna turn to a zombie, which is a fate worse than death. Right? So, it's not the zombies, it's the virus. You're taking it in consciously and storing everything subconsciously. So subconsciously, they're implanting this fear of the virus, the virus, Resident Evil, this, that, whatever, the virus. Okay? So the virus has been programmed in your mind to be the antagonist. Most of us, we've been raised on movies and stuff like that and kind of even structure our lives and stuff around movie plots and the way movies and stuff are structured, right? antagonist or protagonist. Most of us walk out and feel like we're the protagonist in life. So a lot of times stuff that happens to other people we feel like won't happen to us. It's just something that psychologically, subconsciously we all do, because we're all victims of the same programming. The reason why I talk about this stuff so that you can, the best way to break the programming is to first recognize that it's there. Understand that you are programmed. You know what I mean? And then start paying attention to the messages, right? So the virus. So in our little world, the virus subconsciously has always become the antagonist. So all they have to do to trigger your fear is to say, virus. And, you know, this is the way brainwashing works. You know what I'm saying? This is the way brainwashing works. So they say virus, trigger your fear. Trigger your fear, trigger your panic. Okay? Now, on the other end, what's the only genre of entertainment and media that is more popular than zombie movies? Superhero movies. Superhero media. You know what I'm saying? If you add up the revenue for zombie meat, whether it's merchandising or anything else, I'm pretty sure superhero stuff, I'm not pretty sure, I'm very sure, I'm 100% sure that superhero revenue would dwarf that. Why? Because number one, the superhero game has been played for a lot longer. Okay? But if you look at the you know, in the media, the money that DC brings in, you look at the money that Marvel Comics bring in. Okay? You got Marvel, you got DC, the two big top superhero comic book, movie, or anything else franchises. Right? Who's the most popular Marvel superhero in the Marvel universe? I ain't say that the strongest, I'm not saying the most powerful. Who is the most popular Marvel superhero in the Marvel universe? You think when we live in America, Captain America would be, but it's not. It is Iron Man. Iron Man, the Iron Man franchise is the jewel of the MCU outside of the Avengers franchises, which are all Iron Man centric. Okay? Iron Man merchandising makes more money than Thor, Captain America, the Hulk, Black Widow, X-Men, Wolverine, Black Panther. Iron Man is the biggest generator. Iron Man is the most popular Marvel superhero. Who is Iron Man? Tony Stark, a rich industrialist here to save the world. DC Comics, the other comic book superpower. Who's the most popular DC comic book character? I didn't say the most powerful. I didn't say the strongest. I'll give you a hint. It's not Superman. It's Batman. Batman has always been the most popular DC comic merchandise franchise property. Okay? The most popular DC comic property is Batman. It's not a debate. And this is another thing I was talking about, the zombie thing I kind of started paying attention to. I've been a comic book head all my life. I could do a whole nother channel on comic book stuff alone. Like, I'm one of them real comic book nerds. Like, I've always been a comic book nerd. So anyway, Batman. I've always been the most popular DC comic property. Who is Batman? Bruce Wayne. Who is Bruce Wayne? Rich industrialist here to save the world. See the pattern? So subconsciously, because you've been programmed with that, subconsciously programmed with that information over all, you know, years and years, you know, some of it was introduced to it and then it just took up a chunk of their, you know, time and energy, life, whatever. And then a lot of us, we had kids and stuff like that. Kids are into it. So you got kids and stuff that are like raised on it. You feel me? So it, you know, then you look at real life, you got Elon Musk, rich industrialist, and Bill Gates, rich industrialist.
And you may not believe this, but Tony Stark has a real-life doppelganger. Let me give you a hint. It is the man that founded PayPal and SpaceX. Did you guess? Excellent. So today, we're going to talk about two brilliant inventors, Tony Stark and Elon Musk.
So, you know, the programming, you know what I'm saying, got you to the point where you just, whatever solution they come up with, we gonna accept it. Because these are two people who are very prevalent in mainstream society. They're rich, they're popular, you know what I'm saying? And we've already been programmed and conditioned to accept that narrative. You know what I'm saying? But if you look into ID 2020 and other things that are going on, you know what I'm saying? You'll see that those you know, things might not be the best thing for you or for humanity. You know what I mean? So, you know, I can go on and on about this topic. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to make this video too long. But I say all these things, man, because we need to really pay attention to what's going on around us. Because you got to understand how the game is played. You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand what the end goal of the game is. What is the actual object of the game? You know what I mean? And when you start looking at what the established narrative is, right, versus what other people are saying.
5G is for sure going to be the fastest thing we've ever seen, but making our lives better, that's just nonsense. The truth is, 5G is a completely untested form of radiation that through thousands of different studies has shown it has biological damage towards insects, birds, plants, and humans.
For those of you that don't know, I'm a tower climber. I climb cell phone towers and install the cellular equipment that allows you to keep scrolling. And I'm currently in 5G training. And I was already concerned about this technology before getting in there and actually learning some of the science about it. Now, the 5G, its waveform is much tighter, where 4G, 3G, and 2G have fairly long wave troughs so that we can reach distances and have a greater footprint coming off the tower. It's not necessary with 5G. It's going to be broadcast in what's called a millimeter wave, which is much more tightly focused with much closer wave troughs. So when it does hit, you're just getting blasted. And it's not miles away, hundreds of feet up on a tower anymore. It's in the corner of your office. Which means that this millimeter wave is going to be able to directly affect the cellular membranes, the bonds that hold your cells together. The rub of it is, America, that you're not going to know what I did to you for another 15, 20 years. And by then it's going to be too fucking late.
Like, people's concern about this 5G thing is valid. And people don't understand how you know, with the radiation stuff, people don't think it's always harmful. You know, a lot of people don't remember, I think it was a year or so ago, it was a guy who should have been named a terrorist, and he should have been this should have made more mainstream news. But a dude made a microwave gun that could be fired from a certain distance out of a truck, and he was targeting Muslims in upstate New York. This is a fact. This actually happened. It was in the news for a blip, and then it went away. You know what I'm saying? Using microwaves to cook people insides, and he was targeting Muslims. And he got caught and whatever. Story popped up. Those of us in the Muslim community, we you know, it was mainstream news to us, but we trying to share it with the rest of the world, and no one wants to pay attention. You feel me? But even that gives you an indication of how dangerous radiation and stuff like that is. You know what I mean? And if you think about it with this new 5G joint now, is it dangerous? Is it not? Whatever, right? But I do know this. From what I've learned about it, you have the tower, which is different than 4G. You have the tower, and you have a whole bunch of antennas and receivers and stuff that got to be set up all over everywhere. And you know, I feel like this is the reason why people need to be off the street. Because I feel like if people were all over the streets all the time, going about their daily lives, not distracted by anything major more than just the election, and you seeing all of this disruption to your normal routine from construction and all this kind of stuff happening in all these different places, from people, putting up these towers and putting up these antennas and stuff like that all over the place, I think people will have more concerns. So in order to get rid of that 100%, you create a distraction. You know what I'm saying? And this is not the first time a distraction has come or an agenda has been moved forward at the cost of human life. Remember, Pearl Harbor, which is one of the most popular attacks we've had in this country, Pearl Harbor, it's already been confirmed that they knew the attack was coming. They allowed it to happen in order to push America into the war because America was neutral at the time. So it's purposely done. People knew lives were going to be lost. They allowed that pretty much to happen. This is factual. This is not even up for debate. You know what I mean? If you don't believe that by now, then we don't have nothing to talk about. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. So it's not the first time, and that's mainstream history. We can, keep going on that, right? But they created the distraction, you know what I'm saying, in order to do what they got to do. You know what I mean? And to me, that fits more into what makes sense to me, other than, just circumstances just randomly happen, came out of thin air, just that perfectly fit into a carefully constructed plan. I mean, this is a carefully constructed plan that's been meticulously, executed on everything from micro to macro level over an insane amount of years. And then all of a sudden, when everything is supposed to start moving into a certain stage, just a random set of events happen that pushes the entire narrative forward. And it's just like, oops. You know what I mean? Oops. Hey, it happened, so let's just run with it. I don't believe that. I know people are getting sick. But I also know that the medical industrial complex is not the most trustworthy thing, and that's already been documented. The medical look up the history of gynecology if you don't believe me. I mean, we can go back to slavery. We can go back to human zoos. We can go back to, and this was just 1901. They had human beings in zoos. And, the World Health Organization, I don't know if it was, constructed at that time, with the authority on medicine and stuff like that, allowed this stuff to happen. Mainstream media publication, USA Today, New York Times, and stuff like that. Not USA Today, New York Times, they defended the human zoos, black people in zoos, like animals. You feel me? And this stuff was backed by the scientific community. You know what I mean? The fact that black people are more adjusted and can handle more pain, so they use that narrative to justify inhumane scientific experiments on black folks. You know what I mean? All come from a narrative that came from the established scientific community, the established scientific authority. You know what I'm saying? So I choose not to believe that. You know what I mean? I again, take precautions, stay at home. You know what I'm saying? Protect yourself, protect your family, stay clean, stay hygienic. But to me, I'm not in a rush to go to the hospital. I get a little sniffle or cough or whatever. You know what I mean? Because I don't trust fully that I won't go to the hospital and get it, if you know what I mean. In some way, shape, form, or fashion. Just like the girl I just saw, you know what I'm saying, I was talking about, she went to the hospital and They ain't even test her, and they just told her she had COVID-19.
And they didn't swab me or test me or nothing. And look what the fuck paper say. Reason for visit, fever. Diagnosis, COVID-19. They didn't test me for this shit. He told me I had it, bro. He didn't test me for it. He told me I fucking had it, bro. He told me I fucking had it, bro. Come on now. Come on now. Look at what my temperature was. I ain't even had no temperature when I went in that bitch. Come on now. But because I told him I can't taste and smell, he know I got it. Oh, well, that's the number one symptom that's been going around lately is not the smell or taste. So I'm not gonna say, we're just gonna say you have it and quarantine you for 2 weeks. That's exactly what he said, bro. We're just gonna say you have it. We're just gonna tell you have it. So they diagnosed me with coronavirus.
There's a lot to this, man, that a lot of people are not paying attention to, and I feel like people need to pay attention to, closer attention to. People need to stop looking at the lines and read in between the lines. People need to stop looking at the lines and read in between the lines. And I say that because, number one, if you can see it, then, you know, it's always the punch you don't see that knocks you out. Going back to boxing, it's the punch you don't see that knocks you out. If you see the punch, you can slip it, you can dip it, you can block it, you can parry it. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're in position, you could throw the punch before he land his. But either way, you can respond to it if you see it. If you don't see it, then it's a knockout. And, you know, a lot of times, fighters would throw certain fakes. You know what I'm saying? Throw the fake with the left hand, fire the right, bang, bang. Get you to look at the left hand, bang, bang. You know what I'm saying? You're a street dude in rumbles and stuff like that. You put your hand out and make them look that way and then hit them with the other hand. That's fighting. So that's what I feel like was happening now. It's like, look at his hand over here, and then, bang. You get hit with the shot you don't see. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, pay attention to the established narrative, what they're saying. Because I'm going to tell you this. Go to the World Health Organization. Not just look at the coronavirus numbers, but look at numbers. I maintain the same thing. Yes, people are getting sick. People are dying. It is tragic. You know what I mean? And I know that better than anyone because, you know, I've been losing a lot of family members and stuff myself. I've been seeing it on a lot of different... I have the privilege of coming from a huge family. So my web of people that I'm connected to is vast. So even in my web of people that I'm connected to, I mean, it just seems like it's on a constant basis, 2, 3 people just, you know, going bam, 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 bam. And then you look at the numbers, just look at the numbers. Look at the numbers of the amount of deaths from lower respiratory illnesses in the U.S. and in the world. Look at the coronavirus numbers. Look at the numbers. And go to the World Health Organization, top dogs, and see what they say about it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, you go put it together for yourself. So I'm not saying that this is not real. You know what I'm saying? Something is definitely, I feel like, elevating people's level of sickness. But, you know, what I do know also about the human body is that, you know, the things that causes respiratory shutdown and stuff like that, pneumonia and stuff like that, where people's lung capacity is gone, a lot of it is due to a lot of excess mucus that comes about when the body feels something foreign. That could be the virus that they're saying it is. That could be a lot of things. That could be, you know, a certain combination of things that are in people's system from what they've been breathing, what they've been eating, what they've been applying to their skin. You know what I mean? All activating and creating certain, you know, chemical imbalances in people. We know that to be true. Why? Because just look at, you know, study heart disease in the black community. It's not a surprise that people in the black community are dying at an exponential rate. You know what I'm saying? Look at the same type of diseases that are meant to complicate this, what they call, you know, COVID-19, already exists rampantly throughout the black community. And a lot of it comes from a combination of things that you've been breathing, things that you've been eating, things that you've been applying to your skin. Now, you can throw some radio waves in the mix. You could throw, you know, a virus or sickness in the mix and stuff like that. But bottom line, it gets people off the streets. You know, it took away our First Amendment. And, you know, we'll see where it goes from here. But the first thing that I tell people is just to be aware, man. Be aware, pay attention to what's going on. So that way when things happen, you can respond instead of react. You know, a lot of people that I know that already knew this type of information, we responded, we didn't react. Our families responded and didn't react. So nobody in our circle was panicking at all about what's going on. Switched over, took the necessary precautions, and keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I got on that topic. Once again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Let's talk about it. All right? Peace.